Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure tells the story of Bill and Ted, played by Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves respectively. Two dumbasses who are about to fail their history report, and if this happens, Ted, Reeves, will be shipped off to military school because it's the 80s, so everyone gets sent to military school. Luckily, in the future, they become the biggest and most successful band in the entire world, so Rufus, played by George Carlin, is sent back in time to give them an actual time machine to help with their report. It's kinda like the Terminator, but with dumbasses. But if Rufus is from the future, then they would have already passed the history report because they're already this successful band, so he wouldn't know who they were if they failed, so they've already passed. So he doesn't need to go back, it's already done!
You'll see.
It was written by Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson, but they had based it on some stand-up they did back in college, where they would discuss current events but obviously get the details all wrong. Director Stephen Herrick found it hilarious, but felt like its demographic would be incredibly specific. It was going to either completely flop or be a huge hit. Studios weren't sure if they even wanted to fund the film, because they weren't even entirely sure how to do that in the first place based on the bizarre plot. The characters were originally 14-year-old skinny guys wearing low-ride bell-bottoms and heavy metal t-shirts and were bullied at school. However, once they cast Alex and Keanu, they realised they just looked too cool and wouldn't be able to pull this off. It was originally titled Bill and Ted's Time Van, which sounds like How to Catch a Paedophile.
No way!
And they were going to simply borrow a van from their older friend Rufus and then accidentally end up in Nazi Germany. They would have unintentionally brought Adolf Hitler back to the present day, but this was changed to prevent offending people, and he was later swapped out for Napoleon. And I can't lie, seeing Napoleon literally cheat at bowling, have a temper tantrum, eat loads of ice cream and go mad over a water slide is something I never knew I needed before.
Do you realize you have stranded one of Europe's greatest leaders in San Dimas?
He was a dick.
You do kind of feel bad for Napoleon in a way. He's completely abandoned in the future. I guess it really wouldn't have worked with Hitler. I would have loved to see them try though. Another early idea had their classmates time travel with them, visiting Julius Caesar and accidentally killing him, helping a caveman start a fire so they could light a joint, accidentally causing the sinking of the Titanic and the Hindenburg crash, and they were also going to visit Charlemagne, who they would accidentally call Charles Mangay for the whole film. Yeah, some of the humour really hasn't aged very well.
Fact.
And even Babe Ruth. Yeah, they were going to get Joan of Arc, Genghis Khan, Abraham Lincoln, Socrates, Beethoven, Billy the Kid, Sigmund Freud, and Babe Ruth. However, they scrapped the van idea as it was far too similar to Back to the Future, so they used a phone booth. But surprisingly, this was actually accidental. The writers admitted that none of them had any idea about Doctor Who at the time, and didn't realise they were unintentionally making a reference to a whole nother franchise.
What?
Pauly Shaw and Gary Riley tried out for the part of Ted, while Matt Adler, River Phoenix, Donovan Leitch and Sean Penn all auditioned for Bill. Keanu Reeves was one of the first in the room, and they immediately knew that he was their guy. Once he and Alex Winter met, they had instant chemistry and got along really well in real life, sharing similar interests in music and hobbies in general. They were originally just going to be stereotypical wisecrackers, but the duo worked on making them more human and giving genuine emotion to them. Even their trademark gesture was improvised on the spot, as it just felt completely natural to them. The original idea was to actually cast Eddie Van Halen as Rufus, which is why he's mentioned so often in the script.
Wild Stallions will never be a super band until we have Eddie Van Halen on guitar.
I do not believe we will get Eddie Van Halen until we have a triumphant video.
Maybe it's time we get Eddie Van Halen.
But unfortunately, they just couldn't afford him. They did consider getting Ringo Starr, but it never materialized before George Carlin stepped into the role instead. The movie was a huge hit. People loved the charming goofball chemistry between Keanu and Alex, and the comedy was well loved by many. Bill and Ted had truly left their mark on the world of cinema and comedy. I will say, at least they didn't do what Back to the Future did and set it just 30 years in the future, so in a few decades time it'll look really dated. No, they made sure it was definitely far into the future, even if it does still look quite dated. But it was the 80s, give them a break.
No, sir.
Keanu Keanu and Alex are brilliant in this, but at the start it takes a while for them to really get into the role. The thing is, even when their acting isn't the best, it's still somewhat charming and still somehow works. The setup is ridiculous, but it's so ridiculous, it's brilliant and fucking hilarious.
If you guys were separated, it would have been disastrous for life as we know it. Your music will help put an end to war and poverty. It will align the planets and bring them into universal harmony, allowing meaningful contact with all forms of life.
And then we get the beginning of every 80s movie ever.
Uh-oh, we're late. For what? For school, dude.
The movie is so funny, and considering they're both dumbasses, some of the dumb humour is actually quite clever and really well written.
Who was Joan of Arc?
Noah's wife?
Caesar is a salad dressing dude.
Had wooden teeth, chased Moby Dick.
That's Captain Ahab, dude.
How they meet themselves twice, and the first time's a bit confusing, but the second time...
That conversation made more sense this time.
We have loads of setups for running jokes, and the movie has so many damn quotables. If you do not quote at least one of these films at least once in your lifetime, we can't be friends.
Catch you later, Bill and Ted! Now your dad's going for it in your own room.
Shut up, Ted.
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K. How's it going, Old West, dude? All we are is dust in the wind, dude. What number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
How's it going, Royal Ugly Dudes?
Put them in the Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden?
Excellent!
I love how everything is handled completely straight-faced. I mean, they see a damn phone booth appear out of the sky and their immediate response is...
Do you know when the Mongols ruled China?
Hell, they arrive in the garden and Missy meets all of these historical figures and her reaction is...
It's nice to meet you all. There's sodas in the fridge.
Bill pretends to be a cop to distract Ted's dad and he somehow buys it. Some of the effects aren't the best. Again, it was the 80s and they didn't have much money. Leave them alone.
Clock in San Dimas is always running.
I don't quite get that. I mean, they have a time machine. I know you want to add suspense, but they have a time machine. Why would time in the present day continue going like normal? It's a time machine! The humour is just so wholesome and fun. They refer to Beethoven as
Beethoven
and Socrates as
Socrates,
which they then do for the entire movie. The movie and duo are just fun. It is so entertaining to watch. This is just a wonderful film.
I'm the Earl of Preston.
and I am the Duke of Ted.
They pretend to be Jedi and have a fight whilst wearing
Heavy metal.
But Ted takes a tumble and it's believed that he's dead. I mean, I get you need suspense, but you literally have a time machine. Even if he's dead, just go back and save him. No, instead we're meant to believe he fell down the stairs and instantly fell out of the suit. Somehow.
No way. Yes way, Ted!
Here's the thing. Rufus shows up to help them with a history report when Ted is about to be sent to military school, but then he's nowhere to be seen when he's about to be decapitated. There is a nice sweet sequence where they go to the future and it's all peaceful because of their music. It's a nice breather before we get back to the action.
Be excellent to each other.
Party on, dudes!
But here's another issue. Technically, these wouldn't be historical figures. I mean, they kidnap all of these people and then bring them to the present. Now, some of them would have still made history, but they later talk about their entire lives. But they couldn't have done all of it because Bill and Ted grabbed them before they achieved them. So this story doesn't work!
Don't worry, it'll all make sense.
I know the movie is littered with historical inaccuracies, and I know this because the internet told me, not because I'm smart.
Focus!
But the main one is they kidnapped Beethoven from 1810 when he was completely deaf, and yet throughout the film he still reacts to sounds constantly. Then again, they do encounter cavemen in dinosaur time, so who gives a shit? But Jesus, look at this presentation! All of this for a damn history report? Now this was because originally it was just going to be a classroom with them passing and then taking their historical babes to prom. But the writers felt it was underwhelming, so they turned it into this. The historical figures all get arrested, so they have to bust them out, but they really have fun with this. For a dumb comedy, they're really clever with the time travel aspect.
After the report, we'll time travel back to 2 days ago, steal your dad's keys, and leave them here. Where? I don't know. How about behind that sign? That way, when we get here now, they'll be waiting for us. See? Whoa, yeah!
But it's a good thing there's no other dangerous criminals in this jail. How convenient. The presentation is incredible, but how the hell did they manage this massive production for it? Who cares? It's awesome!
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!
And of course, the princesses love them both inexplicably after meeting them for 5 minutes. But really, who can blame them? They're adorable. Now have an obvious George Carlin body double and a promise for sequels.
They do get better.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is a most triumphant film. It totally entertains you and is non-bogus. It's hilarious, charming, and most certainly non-heinous. If you've not seen it yet, check it out, dudes!